Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. Thank you for tuning in again. So we are back to discuss the status of the nation. So by the time you're watching this, you have seen the news that Jacob Zuma has been recalled. Now, if you've been following me on my Facebook, which is linked down below, we've been talking about this for a while, so no one was really surprised that this happened. I think at this point we all knew that it was coming. I think it was just a matter of when, and we knew that it was going to be announced sometime this week, because you have to remember on Sunday Cyril promised everyone that on Monday there would basically be a solution to all of this. Now, in the previous video, I spoke about all the different options that are available basically to the NEC of getting rid of Jacob Zuma, and it is clear now that they have gone the recall route. So I'll just give you a brief summary of basically what's been happening. So last night, the NEC had a meeting that went on well into this morning. Actually, they had a meeting with the NEC to talk about Jacob Zuma being recalled, and it seems like an overwhelming majority, 2/3 majority of the people who were in the meeting basically said that Jacob Zuma has to go, with some people saying that he should stay, people like Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma for one, which is not really that surprising. So they had that meeting and they said that that Jacob Zuma needs to go. Now, a lot of rumors obviously have come out of that meeting to say that Jacob Zuma was told to resign and he basically refused. One of the conditions that he had basically stipulated was that he wants to be allowed an additional 3 to 6 months because of a lot of ceremonial things that still need to happen, etc., etc. And the NEC basically rejected that and said, no dice, no 3 months for you, you have to go now. And he basically said, well, I'm not going anywhere. Now, today, the press conference that was held, Ace Magashule, Secretary General of the ANC, basically came forward and said, to give everyone a summary, basically, or feedback of what happened at the meeting. But honestly, by the time he got up to the podium to give feedback, everyone kind of had an idea of what, was discussed in the meeting. But yes, he just confirmed that, yes, Jacob Zuma has been recalled. But he said that, they've given him the letter and they're waiting for him to basically respond like he would to the rest of the country, and that he doesn't know. But they didn't give him a deadline. But Ace is pretty sure that it's going to happen tomorrow, but there's no deadline. What? Ace also then mentioned that the NEC and the ANC would basically continue having discussions with Jacob Zuma, and I'm confused. What is the point of continuing to have discussions with him if you say you've recalled him? What are you possibly going to discuss? Because to recall him is you guys effectively saying that, look, thanks, but no thanks. So what could you possibly have to discuss with him? And this is part of the problem. One, there's no deadline, and two, he says that they're going to continue having discussions with him. And ultimately, the way the ANC has handled this whole thing, it's been very, very poor form by all of them. Let's keep it real. What kind of recall is this? One that says, there's no deadline, so you can tell us whenever you feel like you're good and ready. So we're still negotiating and we're still going to talk to him about, what does this all really mean? Now, the thing to remember, which I also mentioned in my previous video, is that the NEC can't fire Jacob Zuma. And I see a lot of people are getting that confused. Him being recalled is, in a way, kind of a suggestion, because they're saying to him that, look, we're recalling you. He can either say yes or no. The only way that he can be fired constitutionally is if they head to the National Assembly and they have to vote on it by a motion of no confidence. So that's the way that they get rid of him, provided obviously he says no, he won't resign. Now, the difference obviously between Jacob Zuma and Thabo Mbeki is that when Thabo Mbeki was told to resign, he simply just said okay. When the party recalled him, he said no problem, and he resigned. That was it. There wasn't a big back and forth. It didn't have to be this long, drawn-out process. The party recalled him, and he said that was it. Now, with Jacob Zuma, it's a little bit interesting, because you listen to when Ace Magashule was speaking, and you realize that they didn't really have a reason, or a reason that they explained to us anyway, as to why they recalled him. Ace Magashule basically mentioned that they recalled Jacob Zuma in terms of, I think he said section 12.2, 21.2 of their constitution, of the ANC constitution, which basically says that the NEC can recall any public figure. That was it. That's all that Ace gave us as a reason for why they're getting rid of him. I mean, Gwede Mantashe also reaffirmed that to say, yes, that's why they got rid of him. So I'm sitting back there and I'm thinking, so that's the reason? You guys recalled him simply because your constitution says that you can recall a public representative? That makes no sense. I mean, Ace even went as far as to say that, Jacob Zuma hasn't done anything wrong. Jacob Zuma is not guilty of anything. Which, again, is like, so then why did you recall him? Right? Because you're standing here and you're saying to us that, look, yes, we're recalling him, but he didn't do anything wrong. He didn't break any law. He's not guilty, but we're just going to recall him. It might explain why, if the rumor is true that Jacob Zuma didn't step down. I mean, think about it. If part of the reason of them having these meetings with him is to convince him to step down, they may have not given him a compelling enough reason. I mean, if the reason that they gave us is because the Constitution says so, who knows what reason that they gave him? And you have to remember that Jacob Zuma has always maintained his innocence. He's always said that he's done nothing wrong. He doesn't understand why everybody's coming after him. He's done nothing wrong, and he's basically the victim. And you've got Ace and everyone else in the party basically saying that, yes, he didn't do anything wrong. So again, if I am Jacob Zuma, why am I agreeing to be recalled? The bottom line is that it's making the whole ANC and the NEC and Cyril and the top six, all of them, it's making them look very weak. I think in December when Cyril was elected, everyone was like, yes, finally, here's a guy of action. And I mean, look, he spoke, he gave big talk as well. And everybody was like, okay, here's a man of action, he's going to get rid of people, things are going to get done, but he's being reduced to negotiating. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with negotiating, but it doesn't seem to have been working. So in terms of public perception and how people are viewing Cyril, a lot of people are like, oh, well, whatever, he's weak, he's not as strong as we thought he was. But to be fair, you have to remember that even in December, how Cyril won, it wasn't by an overwhelming majority. Even in the NEC, he doesn't have support of the overwhelming majority. I mean, look at the top six and you look at how those numbers came down in December. None of them won by these big, big margins. It was all very, very close. So the perception of how people are seeing Cyril is a little different. I saw someone even say that, Cyril almost took the approach of this being a business negotiation when he went to meet with Jacob Zuma, forgetting that Jacob Zuma is a politician. He's been a politician all his life, and it might be a case that, Cyril overestimated his capabilities, and maybe that's on us as well. We may have also overestimated how powerful Cyril is in the grand scheme of everything that's happening in the party. Okay, so if you're Jacob Zuma, two things. One, you resign. So whether it's tomorrow or whenever it is, since there's no deadline, when he decides to address the public, the easy thing to do is to do like Thabo Mbeki and be like, fine, and just give us my fellow South African speech and be done with it. The other way is that, like I had mentioned in the previous video, is that Jacob Zuma just says, what, screw it. If you guys want to get rid of me, we'll take it to the National Assembly. And I almost feel like that is the messy way. And I don't think that the ANC wants to do that. In my opinion, I think ANC would like to avoid that very much. ANC would rather have it, be done within party structures. Because the thing is, it would be incredibly awkward for the party. No matter how this goes down, it shows that this is a party divided. No one knows what's going on. And essentially it looks like they're being held hostage, if you will, by this one man. Because they say go and he says no. And now they're like, fine, you have to take it to the National Assembly. And of course they don't want that, because the perception is that they want to be seen, like they've always said, as the party that can self-correct. We can fix our own problems, we will deal with them, but it's looking like it won't go down that way, So the option obviously is the vote of no confidence, which again, I think they would like to avoid that by any means necessary. But I was having a conversation with someone today and I said, what would happen if they do take it to the National Assembly and Jacob Zuma survives the vote? Look, I know it's completely far-fetched and it's completely ridiculous, but he has survived every motion up until this point. And I know the opposition likes to think, because they like to think of it as a numbers game. So they like to think, as the opposition, we are guaranteed all of our numbers. We just need the 50 or 60 from the ANC to come over this side. And boom, we've won. We've done it. We've got the numbers. But I don't think it's a simple numbers game like that, because there's no guarantee that they have the numbers of all the opposition. So they might need even more numbers from the ANC, which they may not necessarily get, because like we've seen in the past, the ANC are loyal in the sense that they are driven by saying we will not be dictated to by the opposition what we're going to do in our party. So that's their principle. They're saying, we will not be told by you what to do. So we may agree that yes, he has to go, whatever, but we won't be told by you what to do. That might be different this time around, since, if it gets there, that they will be the ones tabling their own motion. But what if he survives? How would that work? You're the president of the country where your own party told you that they don't want you. How would that work? I don't know. I think it's too much chaos. Everything is in limbo. No one really knows what is going to happen, and that's why I say the best thing that Jacob Zuma can do for the country and his party is to simply step down, because if he doesn't, I honestly don't see how ANC survives this. Obviously they can't keep him, they can't keep him, because how does that look to the rest of the country? How does that look after everything that's happened if he says, I won't resign? And because they don't want to go the parliament route, they just say, fine, we'll keep you. It's put the party in a very difficult position, and I honestly don't see how they survive this into 2019. And speaking of 2019, the opposition parties, they've been very clear. They're like, what, we want parliament dissolved, we want early elections. That's what they're calling for. But I want to know now if their position has changed, seeing that ANC has come out to say, yes, we've recalled him. Now, this was all before ANC has said that they are recalling Jacob Zuma. So I want to know if their position changes. Their position might not change. They might be like, well, we don't care. You've recalled him. And Jacob Zuma might resign. And they might still say, no, we want parliament dissolved because we want early elections. Because they believe that Jacob Zuma alone is not the problem, that the party as a whole is a problem. Point is, I don't know what is going to happen. I mean, we still haven't had SONA at this point, of which Ace Mahashila alluded to the fact that if we do have SONA, it will be delivered by Cyril Ramaphosa. And I'm like, okay, so it's clear that you guys are picking him as the one, to be your president. But who then will become our deputy? Yeah, no one knows what's going on in the Republic, and I don't know what this means for ANC as a party, and if they're going to survive this, and public perceptions moving forward, no one knows. But what I do know is that if they do dissolve and we go to early elections, the IEC has come out to say, look, we're ready. They've even said that even if we have to go vote in 72 days, we're ready. So no one knows how this is all going to fall. Speaking of which, quick reminder, March the 10th and the 11th is voter registration. This has nothing to do with what's going on in ANC land and whether Jacob is going to stay or go. It's got nothing to do with that. You have to remember, we're going into elections 2019. So March 10th and 11th is voter registration. Now more than ever, if you're eligible to vote, go register. 2019 is going to be a very interesting and complicated year. So go register so you can vote. But yeah, guys, thank you for watching. Sound off in the comments below. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know how you think Jacob Zuma is going to play this out. Let me know if you think because he's been backed into a corner, he's going to fight his way out, or he's simply just going to surrender and be like, you know what, the party wants me gone, so that's what I'm going to do. But yeah, thanks guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.